Hello everybody, welcome to the Mild Rumpus, coming at you live from the House of Flimsy, my dilapidated one-bedroom apartment that is filled with books and noise. Today I'll be telling you about all of the books that I read during the month of July. Spoiler alert, it was a really good reading month and we had our first 5-star of the year. Yes folks, finally we have a 5-star read to talk about. It's the first of the year. If you watched my TBR video for July, it's probably not hard to guess what book we're going to talk about, considering there was only one book on the TBR, and that was Lonesome Dove. Now, what makes this a 5-star read, you ask? Is it just the fact that you got through all 858 pages? Maybe, but I do think there's more to it than just like the satisfaction of completing a big chunky book. This book never for me felt slow. I was engaged the entire time, and much like A Little Life, I think that the author spends a good portion of the beginning, like the first 150 to 200 pages of just building characters and relationship under the guise of like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What decisions are we going to make here? But in actuality, what you're doing is you're building relationships with the characters, which pay off once they begin their journey into whatever it is they're going to do. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that it's sort of like if Blood Meridian had really great character development and it wasn't all just like brutal violence. There are moments of that throughout Lonesome Dove, and the characters are likable, though they make decisions that you will not always agree with and might not sit right with you. There was a lot of that for me, and just with the Western genre in general, I don't like the misogyny. I don't like the way that Indigenous people are written about. But you know, if I had to recommend one Western to people to read, I think it would be Lonesome Dove. This seems sort of like the quintessential Western novel. Let me know if I'm wrong. Now, it turns out that I read more than just one book this month. In fact, I read 5. 2 of them are novellas, but hey, we're counting them. After I finished reading Lonesome Dove, I remembered that I had a Western by Jack Ketchum sitting on my shelf that I hadn't read. It's called The Crossings, and this is a signed edition. Yes, a signed edition limited to 1,500 copies. And as you can see, it's very short and the print is pretty large. So I figured, why not? It's the Arizona Territory, the year 1848, the year the Mexican War ended. Fate and blazing pistols have just thrown together reporter and part-time drunk Marion T. Bell and the very nearly legendary John Charles Hart, mustanger and scout in the Little Fanny Saloon. Plying the river trade across the Colorado to the gold fields of California in the north and war-torn Mexico to the south, the town of Gables Ferry has sprung up overnight, lacking only a church, a schoolhouse, and a jail, though some would say that only the jail was needed. One night, they stumble upon Elena, a fierce, young, badly wounded Mexican woman near the banks of the Colorado. She's been bullwhipped, knifed, and branded. She tells them about the kidnap and servitude she and her sister have endured at the hands of the Valenzuela sisters and their henchman, the deserter Patty Ryan, at the well-manned slave camp across the river, aptly called Mouth of the Devil. And her sister is still there, and so they go to try to rescue her. This is the second novella that I've read by Jack Ketchum, and much like the first, Ladies' Night, there's not a whole lot to offer. There's not a lot of story. There's not a lot of stuff there. I wouldn't waste your time with this book, so this is one that I would not recommend. It wasn't bad, it was just very basic. It was a 3-star read. So after reading those 2 Westerns, I figured it would be a good idea to switch things up and try reading something a little different, cleanse the palate, and I couldn't think of a better book to do that with than Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. This is a very popular book. I'm late to the party. Most of you have probably read it, but now that I've read it, I do understand why it's so popular. The book does just an amazing job mixing the scientific knowledge, the issues regarding climate, with the indigenous ideology. It made me appreciate things that I took for granted, And after reading the book, you just want to be a better kind of global citizen, and leaving the world better than you found it. It taught me things that I didn't know, and I particularly loved the passages that talked about food. There's one chapter called The Three Sisters that really stood out to me, but that's probably just because I'm a foodie and I'm always hungry. Next up, I read a short, sweet little book by an author that I have heard Jack Edwards wax poetic about forever and a day. I know that people love the movie adaptation of this novella. I've never seen the movie, and honestly, I can't even remember the title. I know it's Girl Something. They retitled it. But anyway, it's Foster by Claire Keegan, and here's what it's about. It's a hot summer in rural Ireland. A child is taken by her father to live with relatives on a farm, not knowing when or if she will be brought home again. In the Kinsella's house, she finds an affection and warmth she has not known, and slowly in their care begins to blossom. But there's something unspoken in this new household, where everything is so well tended to, and this summer must soon come to an end. It was short, it was sweet. I don't think I loved it as much as other people have. I gave it 3 stars. Most people rate this 4 or 5, so take that as you will, but it's definitely worth reading. I read it in one sitting. It's very fast. It's very touching. It reminded me a lot of Anne of Green Gables. It's got that vibe. So if you like Anne of Green Gables, more than likely you will enjoy Foster. And finally, the last book that I read this month was Annie Bot. It's a relatively new release. I got it from the library. I've read it and have returned it, so I don't have a physical copy to show you. But I really enjoyed that book. I gave it 4 stars. It's sort of like The Handmaid's Tale, but with robots. The story centers around this robot who has been bought as a companion, if you know what I'm saying, for this guy who is getting over a relationship, and she has been designed, we learn later, to resemble his ex, and it gets very weird. And as the story goes on, we learn more things about the man, and the robot is learning things, kind of like your Furby. Remember Furbies? How you could teach them things and feed them and all that? She's sort of like a Furby. So she's learning, and as she's learning and becoming more aware of the world and the outside world, she wants her autonomy. She doesn't want to be, this plaything at the beck and call of this dude. So it's very much a futuristic feminist tale. It's also self-aware. At one point she's reading Margaret Atwood's book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I think that it would make an excellent movie or miniseries, so don't be surprised if you see that popping up real soon. Well, that does it for me. All in all, I would say it was a pretty strong reading month. I found my first 5-star. I read a nonfiction book, which I'm trying to read more of. Used that public library, so I feel like I'm hitting the goals that I set at the beginning of the year. I finished a chunker. It wasn't Moby Dick, but it was a chunker. So yeah, I think we're on the right track. August is shaping up to be I think another good reading month. I have a stack of books, and I'm just trying to figure out if there is any rhyme or reason to them, if I can come up with a theme. It might just be that it's a stack of books that I want to read, and that's okay too. I'll be starting my new job next month, so I don't know how much I can logistically read, but I'm going to do my best. So if you're still here, thank you for watching, and make sure that you tell me what you read during the month of July. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. I'm always looking for good recommendations. If you haven't already, feed the algorithm, please and thank you. So yeah, our little brat summer is winding down. It's coming to a close. It's good while it lasted, but make sure you're still taking time to read a good book. Stay hydrated, stay cool out there, stay safe. And until I see you next time, happy reading. Thanks for watching. Bye.